Good evening, everyone. Let's talk about connection, that pull between two people that we can't always explain, but we feel in our bones. Attraction is one of the most vulnerable and profound human experiences, and sometimes the person feeling it keeps it hidden, whether out of fear, uncertainty, or a belief that the timing isn't right. But even when words are left unsaid, emotions have a way of showing up. There's something fascinating about the way humans gravitate toward what captures their interest. It's subtle, often subconscious, but undeniable. When someone is secretly attracted to you, one of the most telling signs is their desire to be near you. This isn't always about being obvious or making bold moves. In fact, it's usually quite the opposite. It's about a quiet pull, a magnetic energy that draws them closer without them necessarily realizing it. You might notice this in everyday interactions. Maybe it's at work, where they always seem to pick the desk or chair closest to you during meetings, even when there are plenty of other options available. Or maybe it's at social gatherings, where they always end up standing just a little closer than anyone else, finding reasons to be within earshot of your conversations. Proximity isn't random. It's a signal. It's their way of creating opportunities to connect, even in small, seemingly insignificant ways. Think about the times you've been in a group setting, and this person consistently manages to be in your vicinity. Maybe they're not the one directly engaging with you at first, but they're there on the edge of the conversation, waiting for an opening to jump in or simply soaking up the moments where they can share the same space as you. It's not always calculated. Sometimes it's purely instinctual. People who are attracted to you often find themselves gravitating toward you, almost as if their presence there feels more natural or comfortable than being elsewhere. Beyond physical closeness, proximity can also manifest emotionally. This person might not always be bold enough to directly tell you how they feel, but their behavior consistently reflects a desire to bridge the gap between you. They may initiate conversations more frequently than others, finding ways to text or message you about things that don't necessarily require a response. These might seem like small gestures on the surface, a quick check-in, a comment on something you posted, or even an excuse to ask for your opinion about something trivial, but they're all ways to keep the connection alive. Another subtle sign is how they position themselves to notice the little things about you. They might remember details you mentioned in passing or show up in places you frequent. This could be as innocent as choosing the same gym class or cafe, or it could be more deliberate, like making sure they're at the same events you attend. It's not about stalking or being intrusive. It's about finding ways to share experiences with you in a way that feels organic. When someone is drawn to you, they often crave your energy, your presence. They want to feel like they're a part of your world, even if only in small, understated ways. Sometimes this manifests in their timing. They show up at just the right moment, not because they're planning it, but because being near you feels like the most natural thing to do. Whether it's at work, at a party, or even during casual hangouts, their presence feels consistent. It's as if they're gently weaving themselves into your orbit without overtly declaring it. Proximity at its core isn't about grand gestures. It's about the small, everyday choices that reveal a deeper longing. It's about being present, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally, in a way that signals interest without overwhelming the other person. Whether they're standing next to you in line, sitting near you at a meeting, or finding reasons to strike up a conversation, their closeness isn't accidental. It's intentional, even if they don't fully realize it. Eye contact is one of the most intimate and revealing forms of human communication. It's a connection that transcends words, often giving away emotions that someone might otherwise try to keep hidden. When someone is secretly attracted to you, their eyes have a way of expressing what they may not yet be ready to say aloud. It's not always intentional, but it's almost impossible to suppress. The gaze lingers just a little too long, or they find themselves looking at you when they think you won't notice. These moments of eye contact, though fleeting, can speak volumes about what someone is feeling inside. There's something magnetic about the way their eyes naturally seek you out in a crowd. Even when they're engaged in conversation with others, you might catch them glancing your way, almost as if they can't help it. Their focus is drawn to you, not because they're trying to make a scene or call attention to it, but because looking at you feels instinctive. This kind of gaze is often subtle, not overly obvious, but when you notice it, there's an unmistakable depth to it. It's as if their eyes are searching for something quietly observing and taking the little details about you that others might overlook. You might notice how their eyes light up when they see you. There's a spark, a shift in their expression that's hard to ignore. It could be the way their face softens or how their smile reaches their eyes in a way that feels genuine and warm. This kind of reaction often happens in those first few seconds when they realize you're near. It's not just about looking at you, it's about the energy that comes with it. Their gaze isn't passive, it's active, alive with curiosity and interest. Even if they try to play it cool, their eyes can't hide the excitement of being in your presence. Sometimes their eye contact is accompanied by moments of shyness or nervousness. They may look at you and then quickly look away when they realize you've noticed. It's not that they don't want to be caught, it's that the vulnerability of the moment can feel overwhelming. This push and pull dynamic where they glance at you, avert their eyes, and then look back again often reflects their internal struggle between wanting to connect and fearing rejection. It's as if their eyes are betraying their true feelings, even when they're trying to keep those emotions under wraps. Other times their gaze might hold steady, conveying a sense of confidence and intensity. They might look at you in a way that feels deliberate, as though they're trying to communicate something without using words. These moments often feel charged, filled with unspoken emotions that linger in the air. It's not just a casual glance, it's a look that holds meaning, a look that seems to say, I see you, and you matter to me. This type of eye contact often creates a sense of intimacy, even in the most ordinary settings. What's interesting is how their gaze changes depending on the context. In group settings, they might be more discreet, stealing quick glances when they think no one is watching. In one-on-one interactions, their eye contact might become more direct, more intentional, as if they're fully present and focused on you. Even when the conversation shifts or the setting changes, their eyes seem to find their way back to you, almost as if they're drawn to you in a way they can't quite explain. There's also a way their eyes seem to follow you, not in an overt or intrusive way, but in a way that feels curious and attentive. They notice when you enter a room, track your movements subtly, and seem to be attuned to where you are. It's a quiet awareness, one that feels intuitive rather than calculated. Their eyes are constantly seeking connection, even if they're not consciously aware of it. Whether they're sharing a laugh with you, listening to you speak, or simply observing you from across the room, their gaze carries an energy that's hard to ignore. Mirroring is one of those subtle, almost unconscious behaviors that reveals a lot about how someone feels. When someone is secretly attracted to you, they often find themselves mirroring your actions, tone, and even energy without realizing it. This behavior stems from a natural desire to connect, to establish a sense of harmony and rapport with you. It's not about copying in an obvious or awkward way, it's more about reflecting your presence back to you in small, meaningful gestures that create a shared rhythm between the two of you. You might notice it in the way they adjust their body language to match yours. If you're leaning slightly forward during a conversation, they might do the same, as though they're unconsciously syncing with your energy. If you cross your arms or rest your chin on your hand, you might catch them adopting a similar posture a moment later. These mirrored movements are subtle but powerful. They signal a kind of attentiveness, a way of saying, I'm with you, even without words. It's not just physical gestures that get mirrored either. Sometimes it's in the way they adjust their tone of voice or choice of words to align more closely with yours. If you're speaking softly, they may naturally lower their voice to match the mood of the conversation. If you're enthusiastic and animated, they might mirror that energy, matching your excitement with their own. This mirroring extends to their pace as well. They might walk in step with you, sip their drink when you do, or even laugh at the same moments during a story you're telling. It's their way of subtly aligning with you, creating a shared rhythm that feels comfortable and natural. Another fascinating aspect of mirroring is how it often shows up in conversations. They might pick up on certain phrases or expressions you use and start incorporating them into their own speech. If you have a unique way of saying something, they might adopt it. Not to imitate you, but because they've internalized it as part of your connection. Similarly, they may echo your opinions or ideas, reinforcing your thoughts in a way that shows they're genuinely listening and valuing what you have to say. The mirroring can also extend to emotional responses. If you're talking about something that excites you, they're likely to match your enthusiasm. If you share something that makes you feel vulnerable or sad, their expressions and tone might reflect a deep empathy for what you're experiencing. This kind of emotional mirroring is a way of demonstrating understanding and connection, a way of saying, I feel what you feel. It creates a sense of shared experience that deepens the bond between two people, even if it's never explicitly acknowledged. What's particularly intriguing about mirroring is that it often happens without the person being fully aware of it. It's an instinctive response driven by their attraction and their desire to feel closer to you. They're not trying to manipulate or impress you, they're simply responding to the pull they feel toward you. This unconscious alignment is one of the reasons why being around someone who mirrors you often feels so comfortable. It's as though they're attuned to your rhythm, creating a space where you feel understood and connected. In group settings, you might notice that their mirroring behavior becomes more pronounced when they're interacting with you. While they may behave differently with others, their body language, tone, and gestures seem to shift subtly when it's your turn to speak or when they're focused on you. This contrast can be telling, highlighting the unique connection they feel toward you compared to others in the room. Even in casual or lighthearted moments, mirroring has a way of standing out. Perhaps they pick up on your sense of humor, laughing at your jokes a bit more enthusiastically, or teasing you in a way that feels playful and familiar. Or maybe they adopt small quirks or habits that they associate with you, like a particular way of gesturing or a preference for certain phrases. These shared patterns create a sense of belonging, a subtle but powerful signal that they're drawn to you on a deeper level. There's something unmistakable about the way a person's energy shifts when they're in someone they're secretly attracted to. It's as though a light switch is on inside them, illuminating their demeanor in ways they might not even realize. You can see it in the way they smile a little brighter, laugh a little louder, or suddenly seem more present and engaged. This kind of energy isn't forced, it's genuine and instinctive, a reflection of how much joy or excitement they feel just by being around you. Even if they're trying to play it cool, their body language and overall vibe often give them away. When they're near you, their mood might noticeably improve. Perhaps they were quiet or reserved before you arrived, but as soon as you enter the room, there's a noticeable shift. They become more animated, their posture straightens, and they seem more alive. It's not just about their actions, it's about the energy they exude. There's a buoyancy to their presence, a sense of ease and enthusiasm that wasn't there before. This isn't something they can fake or control entirely. It's a natural reaction to being in the proximity of someone who excites them. You might also notice how they seem to direct their attention toward you, even in group settings. While they may be participating in conversations with others, their focus often gravitates back to you. Their laughter might come a little quicker when you say something funny, or they might be the first to acknowledge your contributions to the discussion. There's a kind of magnetism in their behavior, a sense that they're drawn to you in a way that's hard to disguise. Even if they're trying not to make it obvious, their excitement and attentiveness often reveal their true feelings. Another way this energy shift manifests is in the little things they do to make you feel special. They might go out of their way to create moments of connection, whether it's through a kind gesture, a thoughtful compliment, or simply making an effort to include you in whatever's happening. Their actions carry a certain warmth and enthusiasm that sets them apart. It's not just about being polite or friendly, it's about the extra effort they put in to ensure you feel seen and appreciated. Pay attention to how their expressions change when they're around you. There's often a softness or a glow in their face, an unspoken joy that surfaces whenever you're near. It might be a smile that lingers a little longer, a sparkle in their eyes when they're talking to you, or even a subtle flush in their cheeks when the two of you are engaged in conversation. These physical cues are often involuntary, but they speak volumes about the depth of their attraction and the effect you have on them. Even their body language can reflect this shift in energy. They might angle their body toward you, lean in closer when you're speaking, or mirror your movements in a way that feels natural and fluid. These gestures create a sense of intimacy and alignment, even in the simplest interactions. It's as if their whole being is oriented toward you, subtly signaling their interest and desire to connect. In moments when they think no one is watching, their energy can become even more telling. They might glance at you from across the room, their eyes lingering for just a moment longer than necessary. Or perhaps they find ways to position themselves near you, as though being in your orbit brings them a quiet kind of contentment. These behaviors are often subtle but unmistakable, revealing how much your presence affects them, even when they're not actively engaging with you. When they're speaking to you directly, their energy often becomes even more vibrant. They might laugh more freely, speak with more animation, or seem genuinely invested in the conversation. It's not just about the words they're saying, it's about how fully present they are in the moment. Their focus, their tone, and their enthusiasm all come together to create an experience that feels undeniably unique, as though the connection they feel with you brings out the best version of themselves. When someone is secretly attracted to you, their actions often speak louder than their words. One of the clearest indicators of this hidden attraction is their consistent effort to support you, whether in big ways or small. This support isn't always grand or dramatic. Often, it's in the quiet, thoughtful gestures that demonstrate how much they care. They find ways to show up for you, sometimes even before you realize you need them, and their actions reflect a deep, genuine desire to make your life just a little easier, brighter, or more fulfilling. You might notice how they go out of their way to be helpful. Maybe they offer to take on tasks that aren't necessarily theirs to handle, or they step in to assist when they see you struggling, even with the smallest things. They might help you carry something heavy, volunteer to fix a problem you've mentioned in passing, or take an interest in a project you're working on. Their help doesn't feel transactional, it feels heartfelt, as though they genuinely want to lighten your load because it brings them joy to see you at ease. Their support often extends beyond practical help and into emotional encouragement. When you share your dreams, goals, or even your doubts, they're the first to cheer you on, offering words of affirmation that feel thoughtful and specific. They don't just tell you that you'll succeed, they point out the qualities and skills they admire in you that make your success inevitable. They pay attention to your strengths, and they remind you of them when you need a boost of confidence. It's their way of showing that they believe in you wholeheartedly, often more than you might believe in yourself. In moments of difficulty or vulnerability, their support becomes even more evident. They don't shy away when you're struggling. Instead, they lean in, offering a listening ear or a shoulder to lean on. They're present in a way that feels steady and reliable, as though they're saying, I'm here for you no matter what. This kind of support is especially telling because it goes beyond surface-level gestures. It requires a level of attentiveness and care that comes from a deep sense of connection and attraction. Their actions often reflect an attentiveness to the things that matter to you. Maybe they remember the small details you've mentioned in passing your favorite coffee order, the name of the book you've been meaning to read, or the fact that you have an important meeting coming up. They use these details as opportunities to show support, whether it's by surprising you with something thoughtful or checking in to ask how things went. These gestures, though seemingly small, are incredibly meaningful because they demonstrate that they're paying attention to what's important in your life. You might also notice how they advocate for you in ways you didn't expect. Perhaps they defend your ideas in a group setting, ensuring that your voice is heard and valued. Or maybe they highlight your contributions in a way that feels sincere and uplifting, making sure others recognize the effort and brilliance you bring to the table. Their support often feels selfless, as though their primary goal is to see you succeed and feel valued, even if they don't get any direct benefit from it. In social situations, they might show their support by creating a space where you feel comfortable and appreciated. They might notice when you're feeling out of place and step in to include you in the conversation, or they might subtly shift the energy of the group to ensure you're not overlooked. Their focus is on making sure you feel seen and valued, even when the spotlight isn't directly on them. Their support often comes across in the way they celebrate your achievements, no matter how big or small. They don't just congratulate you in passing, they genuinely share in your joy, sometimes even more enthusiastically than you do. They take the time to recognize your hard work, and their celebration feels authentic, as though your happiness is their happiness. This kind of reaction is a clear sign of how deeply invested they are in your well-being and success. Even in moments when they can't directly intervene or assist, they still find ways to offer encouragement. Whether it's through a kind word, a knowing smile, or a simple gesture of reassurance, their presence feels steady and reassuring. It's as though they're saying, I'm rooting for you, always, and their actions consistently back up that unspoken promise. When someone is secretly attracted to you, there's often a quiet courage in the way they allow themselves to be vulnerable around you. Vulnerability, in this context, doesn't necessarily mean grand confessions or overt displays of emotion. Instead, it's about the subtle ways they open up, share pieces of themselves, and take emotional risks that they might not take with others. This kind of courage speaks volumes because it shows they value the connection they have with you enough to let their guard down, even if it means risking rejection or discomfort. You might notice this vulnerability in the way they share personal stories or experiences that reveal their inner thoughts and feelings. They don't just stick to surface level topics. Instead, they delve into moments that hold meaning for them. Whether it's recounting a childhood memory, talking about their aspirations, or admitting to a fear or failure, these moments of openness reflect a desire to let you see who they really are. They're not just sharing to fill the silence, they're inviting you into their world, hoping you'll understand and accept them for who they are. This courage often shows up in the way they seek your opinion or guidance on matters that are important to them. They might ask for your advice on a decision they're struggling with or share their thoughts on a topic they're passionate about, looking to you for validation or insight. By doing so, they're not only showing respect for your perspective, but also revealing a level of trust that goes beyond casual interactions. It's their way of saying that your thoughts matter to them, that they value your input in a way that's deeply personal. Another way this vulnerability manifests is through their willingness to express appreciation or admiration for you. While they might not come right out and declare their feelings, their compliments often carry a sincerity that sets them apart. They notice the little things about you that others might overlook: your kindness, your humor, your determination, and they're not afraid to acknowledge them. These moments of genuine praise feel intimate, as though they're sharing a piece of how they see you, even if they don't fully articulate the depth of their attraction. Sometimes their vulnerability is evident in the small, nervous gestures they make around you. They might stumble over their words, laugh a little too much, or fidget in ways that betray their inner tension. These signs of nervousness aren't about a lack of confidence, they're about the heightened awareness that comes with caring deeply about how they're perceived by you. They're letting you see a side of them that's unguarded, even if it's not entirely intentional, and that openness is a powerful indicator of their feelings. You might also notice how they take risks to connect with you, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. Maybe they initiate conversations more often than they normally would, or they find ways to spend time with you despite their own fears of overstepping or being misunderstood. These actions require a kind of quiet bravery, a willingness to put themselves in situations where their feelings might become more evident. They're not doing this to pressure you or seek immediate validation. They're doing it because being near you feels worth the risk. Their vulnerability also shows up in the way they handle moments of conflict or misunderstanding. Rather than shutting down or withdrawing, they make an effort to address the situation in a way that preserves the connection. They might apologize sincerely if they feel they've upset you, or they might go out of their way to ensure that you're okay after a disagreement. This kind of behavior reflects a deeper emotional investment, a desire to maintain the bond they feel with you, even when it requires humility or emotional effort. In quieter moments, their vulnerability can be seen in the way they look at you or respond to your presence. There's a softness in their demeanor, a willingness to be fully present and let their emotions show, even if they're not ready to verbalize them. Whether it's through a lingering glance, a gentle smile, or a subtle shift in their tone when they're speaking to you, their actions often convey what words cannot. This openness, however understated, is a clear sign of the connection they feel and the courage it takes to let that connection show. Even in situations where they might be tempted to hold back, their vulnerability has a way of shining through. They might not always know how to articulate their feelings, but their actions reveal a deep and genuine care. Whether it's in the way they prioritize your happiness, their willingness to show their flaws, or their quiet hope that you'll notice their efforts, their vulnerability is a testament to the strength of their attraction and the depth of the connection they feel with you. In the end, attraction isn't always about grand gestures or spoken confessions. It's about the subtle, meaningful way someone shows you how much they care. It's in the mirroring of your energy, the shifts in their demeanor, the effort to support you, and the courage to be vulnerable. These small, often unconscious signals speak volumes about the depth of their feelings, creating a connection that words alone can't fully capture. Paying attention to these signs can help you see the truth behind their actions and perhaps even open the door to a deeper understanding of what they feel but haven't yet said.